Back at you now on Coast to Coast AM. By the way, tomorrow night, Nightline, ABC's Nightline, tentatively plans to run our special segment that they did a few weeks ago. They're ready to go. It's in the can. I talked to the producer today via email, and he said it looks great. And it is scheduled to run tomorrow night, Thursday night, barring any breaking news story that could push us off for another day or two. So plan to watch it and give me a little fast blast feedback, if you would. Okay, Tom and Don, let's get back to that Life magazine story. So he's out there in the desert. He's got the 45. Nothing happens. He leaves. What happens then?
He gets back to the office in L.A. Now, this occurred at the exact time of the Roswell recovery of the UFO and what was going on there. So he tells the story, and the office help. The other people in the office said, well, did you shoot any aliens? And they ribbed him about that for years. And the story suggests to me that at first blush that maybe the Air Force did send him out there to take photographs, et cetera, but maybe they changed their mind in midstream,
Mm-hmm.
They called it off, and so that's why they turned around and went back, and he didn't see anything. But the real solution to this conundrum is that his wife, who also worked for Life magazine in the same office, I think she supplies the most cogent explanation for this. She says that what would be better than when other magazines start getting interested in this story? What's better than the Air Force telling them, well, Life magazine is already on it, so you don't have to send anybody out there. So she believes it was a cover to...
They used him. They framed him, basically.
They used him, absolutely. And he died just a few years ago, and on his deathbed, he believed finally that he was used and that this really was the Roswell story and that involved something very extraordinary that they wanted to cover up. So that is, I believe, the solution to this story is what his widow said.
Okay, let's go back to the final calls now. We'll go to Murrayville, Illinois, east of the Rockies. Hey, Ron, go ahead.
Hi, George.
Hi.
George, in 2002, I visited the museum in Roswell, and I was privileged to talk in person, privately, with Mr. Glenn Dennis. And I just happened to be in there. I saw him walk in, and I walked right up to him and introduced myself, and then, I don't know, he grabbed me and took me off more to a private part of the museum and actually spoke with me for 2 hours.
What did you think of him?
Well, he was very real. I felt that this person was real, and we were just talking about normal things at first. And then, of course, I asked him about Roswell. His demeanor completely changed, kind of like the previous caller said about the colonel.
Mm-hmm.
When he started talking about Roswell, altogether different and much more serious. He recounted the story, of course, of the mysterious lady that he told me that he had met her afterwards. He had been trying to find her, and all of a sudden, like she was gone, and then he got a message from her to meet her at some local place, maybe like a drugstore or something in Roswell, and a restaurant, and he met her, and she was scared to death. She couldn't say anything, but that she drew on a napkin what she had seen. Well, he kept that napkin, he told me, and had supposedly had it hidden away for years, and he was never going to show it to anybody. But anyway, the nurse, she suddenly was gone, and he told me he never saw her ever again.
You think something happened to her?
Well, he never found out. He said he never knew what happened to her. He knew who she was. He had never given her name to anyone. And I felt like then that on, some other stories that I've heard, but now here I'm getting it firsthand.
Sure. Well, much like what Don and Tom uncovered, isn't it? Very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, firsthand from Mr. Dennis in that, maybe he tells me something, maybe he tells somebody else something a little different to always constantly maybe cover his tracks. But I really felt like, this man is sincere. Something very traumatic happened to him, during this time. And I've always felt like that he was kind of a peripheral player, if you will, but yet he was involved with it.
Well, he was a civilian, though he did have, as far as a front gate clearance, as far as cooperating with the base hospital. One of the things that we certainly made every effort to do, even beyond the nurse, was just establish the request for the children's caskets. And a colleague of ours had actually talked to the son of the contracted truck driver who actually made that run up to Amarillo, Texas, to quickly pick up a number of children's caskets. And his father commenting upon returning back from the base where they were delivered, Casper the Ghost. They were talking about Casper the Ghost. And that was, at times, the very name that was even used in reference to the bodies at that time, Casper the Ghost, based on their larger head and pale ashen gray-skinned appearance. We've had other witnesses that said immediately following the event, they were being told about the phone calls. They were being told about the request for the children's casket. A former chief of police in Roswell by the name of Hall verified that, for example, that within days he was told about the strange phone calls. So there are many witnesses to that effect. Then we spoke to a former sergeant by the name of Leroy Lang, who even claimed that he had trained specifically that very nurse as far as radioactivity, radiation poisoning. And so there have been enough other people in the peripheral talking about the nurse and the mortician. Might make a good movie sometime, I suppose, down the road.
It would.
But it isn't just Glenn Dennis. It isn't just Glenn Dennis.
Okay, thank you. Fairmont, West Virginia. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, you're on.
Hi, George. Good evening.
Sure. Hi.
And gentlemen, good to speak with you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
And by the way, thanks for some new data on this question. Every little bit of information that comes in is welcome. But your crewman on the B-29 earlier, he stated that he was 20 years old when he entered the military in 1941.
And he said he was around 26
when the event happened.
When the event happened.
And that's 63 years ago, and he said he was 86. 63 plus 26 in
89. So we're off
like
by
89.
Maybe he was off by 3 years. You know,
well, I was just saying
when he came in. Yeah.
Well, he said he was 86.
Yeah, he's 86 now. I would back it. He probably went in maybe 17, 18 years old.
George?
Yeah.
I spent 6 years in the military. I know my ETS dates in and out, and I'll guarantee that every service person listening to me right now goes, yeah, I know my ETS dates. So it's just...
Well, he's 88.
Yeah,
he's
but
86.
don't forget.
Yeah, he's 86
But
years
he's
old.
86.
Hey,
yeah.
my great-grandmother in Sicily lived to be 108 years old, was running a household until the end. So, you never know. But he was a little off on Leavenworth there when he said Fort Worth. I knew he meant Leavenworth.
Yes. But can we document his being at Roswell? Absolutely. He is in the base yearbook. He is in the very squadron section of that particular, the 393rd, along with those other crewmen. So, yes, we can put him.
Well, you know why I believe his story, Jimmy, Tom, and Don, more than anything? He could have said, I saw little bodies in this thing. He didn't say that. I mean, he said, you know what? They kept us away. There was something in there. We're sure. He speculated. But, he didn't give us a tale.